In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. O mankind, fear your Lord. Indeed, the convulsion of the final hour is a terrible thing.
Commentary. Special features. Commentators differ on whether this surah is Makki or Madani. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has expressed two views on different occasions. However, a majority of commentators believe that the surah is a combination of both the Makki and Madani verses, and Qurtubi prefers this view. He has also mentioned the other peculiarities of the surah, namely that some of its verses were revealed at night and some during the day. Some were revealed during travels and some when the Holy Prophet was not traveling. Some were revealed in Makkah and others at Medina. Some were revealed in the middle of battle and others in peacetime. Some verses of the surah are nasikh, verses of the Quran abrogating some other verses, and some are mansukh, verses of the Quran which have been abrogated by others. Some are muhkam while others are mutashabi. Indeed, this surah comprises all categories of revelations. O men, fear your Lord. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 1. This verse was revealed to the Holy Prophet while he was traveling. He recited in a loud voice, so that all his companions gathered around him after hearing his voice. Then he addressed them, do you know when the upheaval of the resurrection, which is mentioned in this verse, will take place? They replied, Allah and His Prophet knows best. Then the Holy Prophet said, that will be the day when Allah will command Sayyidina Adam to raise those people who have been marked out for hell. Say, Sayyidina Adam will ask Allah Ta'ala who those people are, and Allah will inform him that 999 out of every 1,000 will go to hell. The Holy Prophet then added, that will be the time when small children will become old on account of terror, and pregnant women will abort their fetuses. The companions were frightened when they heard this and asked the Holy Prophet, O Prophet of Allah, who are those among us who will escape this terrible fate? The Holy Prophet replied, set your minds at ease. For every 1,000 of the Gog and Magog, Ad-Judge and Majudge, there will be only one from amongst you. This incident is reported in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Abu Said al-Khudri. May Allah be pleased with him. There are other versions also according to which the Holy Prophet is reported to have said, on the day of resurrection you will find yourself with two peoples who will predominate numerically all the other peoples who would be near them. One of them is the tribe of Gog and Magog, and the other is the Shaitan and his descendants, and those of the progeny of Sayyidina Adam who have died earlier. Thus, among the 999, the majority will be from those peoples. Qurtubi and others have quoted these narrations. When will the earthquake of the day of resurrection take place? Will it happen before or after the dead are raised to life? Some people have opined that the earthquake will occur in this world before the day of judgment and will be among the last signs of the coming of the doomsday, to which reference has been made in several verses of the Quran, such as when earth is shaken with a mighty shaking, Surah Al-Zalzalah, Ayah 1, and the earth and the mountains are lifted up and crushed with a single blow, Surah Al-Haqqah, Ayah 14, when the earth shall be rocked, Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Ayah 4. There are others who have deduced from the above referred hadith that the earthquake will occur after the doomsday and resurrection. In fact, there is no inconsistency between these two views, because verses of the Quran and the ahadith of the Holy Prophet may be quoted in support of either view. Allah knows best. This verse also gives a picture of the earthquake of the day of resurrection, when all the pregnant women will abort their fetuses and every breastfeeding woman nursing her child will be diverted from it. If the earthquake takes place in this world before the doomsday, then there is no ambiguity in all these happenings. But if the earthquake occurs after the doomsday, then the explanation would be that a pregnant woman would be raised on the doomsday in the same state, and a woman who died while breastfeeding her child will also be raised in the same condition along with her child. Qurtubi, Allah knows best.
On the day you see it, every nursing mother will be distracted from that child she was nursing, and every pregnant woman will abort her pregnancy. And you will see the people appearing intoxicated while they are not intoxicated. But the punishment of Allah is severe.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 1, for the Tafsir.
And of the people is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge and follows every rebellious devil.
Commentary. And among men there is one who debates about Allah with no knowledge. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 8. This verse was revealed with particular reference to Nadir ibn al-Harith, who was a very quarrelsome person. He claimed that the angels were Allah's daughters, and that the Quran was a storybook which contained fables about people of bygone ages. He denied the day of judgment and the resurrection of the dead. Although this verse relates to a particular person, its message applies to all who are in a similar situation and practice such wickedness.
It has been decreed for every devil that whoever turns to him, he will misguide him and will lead him to the punishment of the blaze.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 3 for the Tafsir.
O people, if you should be in doubt about the resurrection, then consider that indeed we created you from dust, then from a sperm drop, then from a clinging clot, and then from a lump of flesh, formed and unformed, that we may show you. And we settle in the wombs whom we will for a specified term. Then we bring you out as a child, and then we develop you that you may reach your time of maturity. And among you is he who is taken an early death, and among you is he who is returned to the most decrepit old age, so that he knows, after once having knowledge, nothing. And you see the earth barren, but when we send down upon it rain, it quivers and swells and grows something of every beautiful kind.
Different stages in the development of fetus in mother's womb. We created you from dust. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5. This verse deals with the different stages through which the fetus passes in its mother's womb before taking a human form. There is a detailed hadith on this subject, which is reproduced in Sahih of Bukhari on the authority of Sayyidina ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, to the effect that the Holy Prophet said, human matter retains its original form in the woman's womb for 40 days, after which it becomes a clot of blood. After a further period of 40 days, it becomes a lump of flesh. Thereafter an angel is sent by Allah Ta'ala, who breathes a soul into it and records 4 things about it, namely how long it will live, how much sustenance it will receive, what acts he will do, and finally whether its end will be wretched or fortunate. Qutubai, there is another narration which has been related by Ibn Abi Haytham and Ibn Jarir, also on the authority of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, that when the seed becomes a lump of flesh after passing through different stages, the angel responsible to watch the progressive development of each individual then seeks guidance from Allah Ta'ala, saying, that is, whether it is his will that the lump of flesh should be allowed to grow and become a living human being. If Allah says it is, then the womb aborts the fetus, and it does not reach the higher stages leading to a live birth. On the other hand, if Allah says that it is, then the angel asks him whether it is to be a boy or a girl, wretched or fortunate, how long it will live, how it will spend its life, and when it will die. The angel is given information on all these matters then and there. Ibn Kathir, say, Ibn Abbas has also interpreted the words in a similar manner. Qutubai, shaped or unshaped. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5, is evident from the hadith referred to above that the human seed, which completes its full term in the womb and is destined to be born as a normal human being, is meant by shaped, whereas a seed which is destined to be aborted is unshaped. However, there are other commentators who have explained these 2 words differently. According to them, a fetus which completes all the stages of growth and development and whose limbs and other organs of the body are healthy, normal, and proportionate is unshaped. On the other hand, a fetus whose limbs are deformed or disproportionate is unshaped. The latter interpretation is close to the translation adopted above. Allah knows best. Then we bring you out as babies. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5. Then Allah brings forth the baby from its mother's womb as a totally helpless thing. Its body is weak, and so are its other faculties, such as hearing, vision, senses, brain function, and overall physical movements, including its grasp. All these faculties grow strong as time passes until they reach their full capability. This is the meaning of the words, then we nourish you so that you reach your maturity. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5. The word ashad is the plural of shiddat, just as an is the plural of nimma. The meanings of these words are that the process of gradual development continues until all the faculties reach their peak, and this happens when a person is in the prime of his youth. The worst part of the age. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5. It means the stage of life when human faculties and senses begin to degenerate. The Holy Prophet had sought Allah's protection from such life. Nas has quoted Ibn Asad, may Allah be pleased with him, as saying that the Holy Prophet used to repeat the following prayer very frequently. Quote, By to Allah, I seek your protection from miserliness, and I seek your protection from cowardice, and I seek your protection from that I am carried to the age of helplessness, and I seek your protection from the seductions of this world and the chastisement of the grave. An account of the different stages of human life after birth. Musnad of Ahmad and Musnad of Abu Yalad quote Ibn Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet once said the good deeds of a minor child are recorded in the account of his father or both his parents, but his evil deeds are not recorded, neither in his parents' account nor in his own. After he has attained majority, an account is opened in his own name, and the two angels who are attached to him are commanded to afford him protection and provide him strength. When he reaches the age of 40 years and is still Muslim, then Allah Ta'ala grants him immunity from 3 diseases: insanity, leprosy, and leukoderma. When he reaches the age of 50 years, Allah eases and abates his record. At the age of 60, Allah Ta'ala creates in him an urge to turn his thoughts towards him. At 70, all the inhabitants of the sky begin to love him. When he is 80, Allah Ta'ala records his good deeds but ignores his lapses. At 90, Allah writes off all his sins and grants him permission to intercede on behalf of his relatives and also accepts his intercession. He is then given the titles of Allah's trustee and is the prisoner of Allah on earth. Because at that age all his strength is gone, he loses interest in his surroundings and spends his life like a prisoner. And when he reaches the worst of age, then all the good deeds which he used to perform when he was strong and healthy continue to be recorded in his account, while his sinful acts remain unrecorded. Having reproduced this tradition from Musnad Abu Ya'la, Hafiz ibn Kathir says, "This hadith is garb, i.e. reported by one narrator only, and is extremely munkar, i.e. reported by a weak narrator against the authentic traditions." He then adds, "And in spite of all this, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah have mercy on him, has related it in his Musnad both as a saying of the Holy Prophet and as a saying of a Sahabi that is traced."
That is because Allah is the truth, and because He gives life to the dead, and because He is over all things competent.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5, for the Tafsir.
And that they may know that the hour is coming, no doubt about it, and that Allah will resurrect those in the graves.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5, for the Tafsir.
And of the people is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge or guidance or an enlightening book from Him.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5, for the Tafsir.
Twisting his neck in arrogance to mislead people from the way of Allah. For him in the world is disgrace, and we will make him taste on the day of resurrection the punishment of the burning fire, while it is said,
Turning his side away, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 5. The word "ith" means side of the body, and the expression means to turn on one's side, in other words, to oppose.
That is for what your hands have put forth, and because Allah is not ever unjust to His servants.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 9, for the Tafsir.
And of the people is he who worships Allah on an edge. If he is touched by good, he is reassured by it. But if he is struck by trial, he turns on his face to the other direction. He has lost this world and the hereafter. That is what is the manifest loss.
Commentary. And among men there is one who worships Allah standing on the verge. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 11. Bukhari and Ibn Abi Haym have related from Say in Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that when the Holy Prophet migrated to Medina, people flocked to him and accepted the new religion. But there were some among them whose conversion to Islam was far from being genuine, and whose sole motive for their action was to seek self-advancement, and they lacked conviction. If after becoming Muslims, favorable circumstances resulted in an increase in their prosperity and their children, they thought Islam was a very good religion, but they were equally ready to condemn it if things went against their personal interests. This verse was revealed to describe such people who were mere opportunists, and were easily swayed either way depending on where their selfish interests lay.
He invokes instead of Allah that which neither harms him nor benefits him. That is what is the extreme error.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
He invokes one whose harm is closer than his benefit. How wretched the protector, and how wretched the associate.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, Allah will admit those who believe and do righteous deeds to gardens beneath which rivers flow. Indeed, Allah does what He intends.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
Whoever should think that Allah will not support Prophet Muhammad in this world and the hereafter, let him extend a rope to the ceiling, then cut off his breath and let him see. Will his effort remove that which enrages him?
Commentary. If someone thinks Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 15, it means that the enemies of Islam who put hurdles in its path and desire that Allah should abandon the Holy Prophet and his religion must clearly understand that this can happen only when, God forbid, he is deprived of the office of the prophethood and ceases to receive wahi, revelations, from Allah Ta'ala. It is well understood that when Allah Ta'ala bestows the prophethood on someone and also favors him with wahi, revelations, he also promises him full support in this world and in the hereafter. Thus the only way to stop the advancement of the prophet and his mission, if someone has the power to stop it, is that he should dispossess the holy prophet of his mission, or that the sequence of divine revelation should be severed. Anyone wanting to do all this will have to go up to the sky and cut off the chain of revelation, and since such a thing is not possible, no amount of fire and fury can do any harm to Islam. This interpretation is related in Al-Dur al-Manthur from Ibn Zayd, and in my opinion it is the most appropriate one. Qutb also thinks that this is the best interpretation of this verse. There are some others who are of the view that the word sky occurring in this verse means the ceiling of one's house, and the verse means that a person who entertains hostile feelings towards Islam and the Holy Prophet must realize that he can do them no harm. Hence the best thing for him to do is to hang himself from the ceiling out of sheer mortification. Mashari and others.
And thus have we sent the Quran down as verses of clear evidence, and because Allah guides whom He intends.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 15, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, those who have believed, and those who were Jews, and the Sabians, and the Christians, and the Magians, and those who associated with Allah, Allah will judge between them on the day of resurrection. Indeed, Allah is, over all things, witness.
Commentary. In verse Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 17, it is stated that Allah will decide among the believers and non-believers of different faiths on the day of resurrection, because He knows everything. What that decision would be has been related in the Quran at several places, namely that the good Muslims will enjoy a life of everlasting peace and comfort, while the infidels would be condemned to a life of eternal perdition. In the next verse, by using the word sajda, prostration, it has been declared that all created things, be they living things, minerals or plants, are in obedience and thus submit to the supreme authority of Allah Ta'ala, thereby mentioning two groups of humans in this respect of submission. One, which obeys Allah and therefore it is included amongst the creatures who prostrate to Him, and the other one which is rebellious and refuses to bow before Him, meaning, refusing to submit to His will. The word sajda, prostration, has been used here in the broader sense of submission to the will of Allah and obeying His commands, because all created things act upon this submission in their own way. Human beings perform sajda by touching the ground with the forehead, while in the case of other created things their sajda constitutes their faithful performance of the functions assigned to them by Allah. The truth about all created things obeying Allah. Genetically, the entire universe and all created things therein are under the control and subject to the will of their Creator by virtue of an inherently programmed guidance of taqwa by Allah. The submission in this sense is predetermined, involuntary and instinctive. There is no created being which can escape this universal law of creation, be it a Muslim or a non-believer, a living thing or dead, mineral or plant. The smallest particle and the highest mountain cannot make the slightest movement without His will. There is, however, another kind of submission to Allah, when a person offers homage to Him voluntarily and without constraint. This is what distinguishes a believer from a non-believer. A believer is obedient and sincere in his submission to Allah, whereas a non-believer repudiates His existence. As this verse deals with the difference between a Muslim and a kafir, infidel, it is more likely that reference to sajda, prostration, does not refer to predestined and instinctive obedience alone, but covers the voluntary submission as well. Let it not be supposed that only human beings and jinns who possess intelligence can offer voluntary and unconstrained submission, and animals, plants and minerals being devoid of reason cannot exercise voluntary and intentional obedience. Indeed, it can be proved from the text of the Quran that every created thing has reason, intellect, and intent, and the difference lies only in degree. Human beings and jinns possess a perfect level of intelligence, which makes them liable to a strict adherence to the laws governing what is permissible and what is forbidden. As regards other creatures, Allah has given them intelligence according to their needs. Animals possess the highest degree of intelligence after humans, then come plants, and last of all are the minerals. The intelligence among the animals can easily be perceived, and that possessed by plants can also be observed if one applies one's mind to the task. However, the intelligence given to the minerals is so little and concealed that it is not easily discernible, though Allah has said clearly that they not only possess intelligence but also have the capacity to decide things. The Quran says about the sky and the earth, they said, "We come willingly." Surah Fussilat, Ayah 11, that is, when Allah commanded the sky and the earth that they must submit to His will either by their free choice or by force, they both replied that they accepted His authority by their own voluntary choice. At another place the Quran says, "And there are still others which fall down in fear of Allah." Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 74, which means that there are rocks which fall down in fear of Allah Ta'ala. Similarly, there are numerous traditions which provide evidence of mountains conversing with one another, or other created things showing signs of intelligence. Therefore, the homage mentioned in this verse, for which the word sajda, prostration, has been used, means the voluntary homage. The interpretation of this verse would, then, be that except for the human beings and jinns, all other created things voluntarily and willingly submit to the divine authority. It is only the human beings and jinns who are divided into two factions, namely those who bow in submission to the will of Allah, and those who deny His authority and refuse to submit to Him, and are therefore despised. Allah knows best.
Do you not see that to Allah prostrates whoever is in the heavens and whoever is on the earth, and the sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the trees, the moving creatures, and many of the people? But upon many the punishment has been justified, and he whom Allah humiliates, for him there is no bestower of honor. Indeed, Allah does what He wills.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
These are two adversaries who have disputed over their Lord. But those who disbelieved will have cut out for them garments of fire. Poured upon their heads will be scalding water.
Commentary. These are two opponents who have disputed about their Lord. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 19. This verse, with its general words, deals with two sets of people, namely the Muslims and the infidels, whether they belong to the earliest times or to later ages. However, the particular event in the background of which it was revealed about two groups of men who faced each other in combat on the battleground of Badr. Sayyidina Hamza and Ubaydah, may Allah be pleased with him, stepped out of the Muslim ranks, whereas Utbah bin Rabi'a, his son Walid, and his brother Shayba came out to challenge them. In the ensuing fight the three unbelievers were slain. Sayyidina and Hamza, may Allah be pleased with him, emerged unscathed, while Sayyidina Ubaydah, may Allah be pleased with him, was mortally wounded and expired at the feet of the Holy Prophet. The revelation of this verse in relation to these warriors of the field of Badr is well established on the authority of traditions contained in Bukhari and Muslim, but it is evident that its message is not exclusive for them alone, but embraces the entire Muslim community of all times and ages.
By which is melted that within their bellies and their skins.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 19, for the Tafsir.
And for striking them are maces of iron.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 19, for the Tafsir.
Every time they want to get out of hellfire from anguish, they will be returned to it, and it will be said, "Taste the punishment of the burning fire."
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 19, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, Allah will admit those who believe and do righteous deeds to gardens beneath which rivers flow. They will be adorned therein with bracelets of gold and pearl, and their garments therein will be silk.
The philosophy of adorning the dwellers of paradise with gold bracelets. Here a point may arise that bracelets are articles of jewelry worn by women only, and their use by men is looked upon with disfavor. This objection is not entirely relevant because throughout ages monarchs have embellished their persons with costly jewelry, crowns and bracelets as symbols of their might and wealth. The story is well known that Suraqah ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, before his conversion to Islam, started out in pursuit of the Holy Prophet in order to apprehend him while he was on his way from Makkah to Medina. As he approached near the Holy Prophet, his horse sank, by Allah's will, in a piece of treacherous sand. At that critical moment, he expressed his repentance about his error and sinful way, and begged the Holy Prophet to pray for his deliverance from his predicament. When, as a result of the Holy Prophet's prayer, his horse was extracted from the quicks, and he promised Surah ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, that when the bracelets of the king of Persia would fall in the hands of the Muslims as spoils of war, they would be given to him. So, when during the caliphate of Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, the Muslims conquered Persia, and the bracelets worn by the king of Persia were brought to Medina along with other spoils of war, Surah ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, laid claim to them, and received them from Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. In brief, just as wearing a crown is a royal privilege and not a common practice among men, similarly wearing bracelets by men is a royal privilege, and thus the men admitted to heaven will wear them as a symbol of honor and divine favor. According to this verse, and also Surah Fatir, the bracelets will be made of gold, but in Surah An-Nisa, it is said that they will be made of silver. For this reason, commentators are of the view that the bracelets worn by the pious people in heaven will be of three kinds, that is made of gold, silver, and pearls. This verse makes a mention of bracelets made of pearls also. Silk clothes are forbidden for men. The verse says that those people who are admitted to paradise will wear silk clothes, which means that their dresses, carpets, curtains, etc. will be made of silk, which is regarded as the best fabric in this world. However, it should be understood that the silk used in paradise and the silk used in this world have only the name in common. Otherwise, from the point of view of quality, there is no comparison between the two. Imam Nasai, Bazar, and Bayhaqi have related on the authority of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, that once the Holy Prophet said that the clothes of the people living in paradise will be made from silk, which will be extracted from a fruit growing there. There is also a statement by Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, that there would be a tree in the paradise which would produce silk, and the people of paradise would wear dresses made from it. Majari, in a hadith quoted by Imam Nasai, may Allah have mercy on him, on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, the Holy Prophet once said, he who wears silk in this world will not wear it in the hereafter. He who drinks wine in this world will be deprived of the sacred nectar in the hereafter. He who uses utensils made of precious metals for food and drink in this world will be denied their use in the hereafter. Then the Holy Prophet added, these three things are exclusively for the people of paradise. Quote by quoting Nasai, the meaning is that a person who spent his life in this world in the midst of these three luxuries and did not show contrition would be deprived of them even if he were admitted to paradise. According to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, the Holy Prophet said that a person who drank wine in this world and did not repent would be deprived of the sacred nectar of the paradise in the hereafter. Quote by, according to Sayyidina Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, there is another hadith in which the Holy Prophet said, he who wore silk in the world will not wear it in the hereafter even if he is admitted to paradise. All other people of paradise will wear silk, but not he. Here a point arises that if after admittance to paradise a person remained deprived of something, he will nourish a sense of sorrow and grief, whereas paradise is no place for such feelings, because everyone who is admitted to paradise should at all times be easy in his mind and free from anxiety. On the other hand, if the deprivation of certain facilities causes no sorrow and grief, then the deprivation loses its purpose. Qurtubi has given a very convincing explanation to this matter. He says that the people of paradise will be given different grades and places at different levels, depending on how well they stood in Allah's favor on account of their good deeds and devotion to the cause of the true faith. Everybody will be aware of these differences, but Allah will fill their hearts with tranquility and contentment, so that they will not feel grief and sorrow about these differences.
And they had been guided in worldly life to good speech, and they were guided to the path of the praiseworthy.
And guided they were to the good word of faith. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 24. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has said that this refers to the Kalimat Tayyibah. Some others say that it means Quran. Qurtubi, as a matter of fact, it includes all these things in its meaning.
Indeed, those who have disbelieved and avert people from the way of Allah and from Al-Masjid Al-Haram, which we made for the people, equal are the resident therein and one from outside. And also whoever intends a deed therein of deviation in religion or wrongdoing, we will make him taste of a painful punishment.
Commentary. In the previous verse, mention was made of the mutual hostility between the believers and infidels. One aspect of this hostility has been described in this verse, namely that among the infidels there are those who not only persist in error themselves, but also prevent others from following the path of virtue. Those were the people who prevented the Holy Prophet and his companions when they wanted to enter the sacred mosque wearing the pilgrim's garb. Traditionally, the sacred mosque, and that part of Mecca which has an essential role in the rituals of the pilgrimage, was not their property, and they had no right to deny entry to anyone. The place is open to everyone, whether a local resident or a visitor. The verse goes on to say that anyone who commits an impious act in the sacred mosque, meaning the whole of haram, such as preventing people from entering the mosque, will be made to suffer severe chastisement from Allah, especially if he is also a polytheist, as was the case with the infidels of Makkah. They will be liable for double punishment, one for being non-believers, and second for preventing others to enter the sacred mosque for pilgrimage. Although all sinful acts, especially shirk and kufr, are forbidden and are great crimes and sins which are liable to punishment at all times and in all places, but such acts carried out in the harem enhance the crime double-fold, and hence referred here for their special importance. Prevent people from the way of Allah. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 25. The words, the way of Allah, mean Islam, and the sense of the verse is that these people not only repudiate Islam themselves, but also prevent others from accepting it. Their second offense is that they stop the Muslims from entering the sacred mosque, Al-Masjid Al-Haram, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 25. In reality, Al-Masjid Al-Haram is the name of the mosque which is built around House of Allah, the Holy Kaaba, and it is a very important part of Haram of Makkah. However, the term Al-Masjid Al-Haram is usually used for the whole of Haram of Makkah, as is the case under this episode. Thus the infidels of Makkah excluded the Muslims not only from the sacred mosque but also from the precincts of Haram of Makkah, as is evident from numerous traditions, and the words used in this verse cover the entire Haram. The Holy Qur'an has at another place used the word under this episode in the meaning of the whole area of Haram, Surah Al-Fah, Ayah 25. The meaning of equal rights of all Muslims within Haram of Makkah. According to Elder Al-Manthur, the term Al-Masjid Al-Haram in the present context means the entire Haram, as reported from Ibn ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. The entire Muslim Ummah and all the jurists are unanimous on the fact that all those areas of Makkah and the Haram where the essential rituals of the pilgrimage are performed, such as the space between Safa and Marwa, where the pilgrims perform sa'i, and all the open areas of Mina, Arafat and Muzdalifah are waqf for the benefit of the entire Muslim Ummah and have never been, nor can ever be, owned by individuals. Some jurists apply this principle to the private houses in Mecca and the open lands in the area of Haram to infer that these two are waqf for all the Muslims, that a Muslim can stay anywhere he likes, and that the sale or letting out these properties on rent is not permissible. However, there are other jurists who do not accept this view and believe that the ownership of these properties can vest in private individuals and the houses can be sold or let out on rent. It is well established that Sayyid ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, purchased the house of Safwan ibn Umayyad in Makkah for use as prison for the criminals. As for Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, both views are attributed to him in different reports, but the Hanaf jurists have issued their fatwa ruling in favor of the latter view. Ra'ul Ma'ani, this verse mentions certain areas of Haram where entry was denied to the Holy Prophet and his companions by the infidels of Makkah, but these areas are waqf by consensus of Ummah, and nobody can be denied access to them. And whoever intends therein to commit deviation with injustice. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 25. The word literally means deviation from the right path. While Mujahid and Qatada have interpreted this word to mean unbelief and denial of the oneness of Allah, kufr and shirk, other commentators have given this word its literal meaning, which embraces all kinds of sins, so much so that even hurling abuses to one's servant is also included in it. Sayyidina Adam, may Allah be pleased with him, has further enlarged the scope of the meaning of this word by declaring that had within the precincts of Haram means entering it without wearing the pilgrim's garb, ihram, or violating any of the prohibition inside the Haram, such as hunting or cutting down trees within its limits. It needs to be clarified here that all things forbidden by the religious code are forbidden everywhere and will attract punishment wherever committed, and the specific reference to Haram in this verse is to emphasize the fact that just as a good deed performed within its limits will be generously rewarded, similarly a sin committed there will attract the most severe punishment. Mujahid, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, has related another interpretation of the word had to mean that where, as at any other place, the mere intention to commit a sin does not constitute a sin unless it is actually committed, Within the limits of the haram, even the resolve to commit a sin is punishable, as if it has actually been committed. Qutubah has adopted this interpretation from Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and lends his own support to it. Whenever Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, went for the pilgrimage, he used to set up 2 tents, one within the limits of haram and the other outside it. If ever an occasion arose when he needed to scold or rebuke any one of his households, he would do it in the tent which he had set up outside the limits of haram. When people asked him the reason for this, his answer was that the words which a person normally uses when angry also constitute committing an act of sin within the precincts of haram Majari.
And mention, O Muhammad, when we designated for Abraham the site of the house, saying, "Do not associate anything with me, and purify my house for those who perform dawaf, and those who stand in prayer, and those who bow and prostrate."
Commentary. The previous verse contains a warning of severe punishment to the infidels who prevented the Muslims from entering the sacred mosque and the precincts of haram. This verse describes the eminence and the superior status of the Baytullah, which magnifies manifold the evil of their deeds. The start of founding the structure of the house of Allah, the holy Kaaba, and remember when we pointed out for Ibrahim the place of the house, Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 26. The word literally means to assign to someone a place for his residence. The verse calls to attention the fact that Allah assigned to Sayyidina Ibrahim a place where Baytullah was located. There is a hint here that he was not settled there already, since he migrated here from Syria. And a reference to the place of the house suggests that the house of Allah pre-existed the arrival of Sayyidina Ibrahim, because according to reliable traditions its first foundations were laid about the time when Sayyidina Adam was sent upon the earth, and he and the prophets who came after him used to make tawaf, circumambulation, around it. At the time of deluge, in the days of Sayyidina Nuh, its upper structure was removed, but the foundations remained intact. Sayyidina Ibrahim was brought to this place and commanded by Allah Ta'ala, "Do not associate with me anyone." Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 26. It is quite evident that Sayyidina Ibrahim could not commit shirk, because he had himself suffered considerable torment at the hands of polytheists after they accused him of having destroyed their idols. The intention here is to warn the people at large against the great sin of polytheism. The second command was, "Purify my house." Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 26. Even though the house of Allah did not exist at that time. But the fact of the matter is that Baytullah is not just a structure of bricks and mortar. Rather, the term encompasses the entire piece of sacred land where Baytullah once stood, and whose structure Sayyidina Ibrahim was now commanded to raise once again on the original foundations. As for the command to purify the place, Qutubah says that in those days the tribes of Jurham and Amalekites had placed idols there, which they worship. Qutubah, another view is that this command is for the future generations, not only to keep the place free from infidelity and polytheism, but also to pay special attention to its external cleanliness and purity.
And proclaim to the people the Hajj. They will come to you on foot and on every lean camel. They will come from every distant pass.
The third command given to Sayyidina Ibrahim was, "Announce among people about the obligation of Hajj." Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 2. Ibn Abi Haytham has related from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that when Sayyidina Ibrahim was commanded by Allah to make this proclamation, he submitted that the place where he stood was an uninhabited, desolate plain with nobody to hear the proclamation, where, as he lacked the means to convey it to the populated areas. Allah Ta'ala then told him that he was required only to make the proclamation, and the responsibility for conveying it to the four corners of the world rested with himself, that is Allah Ta'ala. Thereupon Sayyidina Ibrahim stood at station of Ibrahim, and made the proclamation, and Allah Ta'ala magnified his voice so that it was heard all round the earth. It is also related that he made the proclamation from the top of the Mount Abu Qubais. He put his fingers in his ears, turned his face in 4 directions, and called out, "O people, Allah has established his house and made it obligatory upon you to make pilgrimage to it. So obey the command of your Lord." It is also mentioned in this narration that Allah Ta'ala so decreed that the announcement was heard miraculously all over the world, not only by the people living then, but also by all those yet to be born up to the day of resurrection. And all those who are destined to perform the pilgrimage responded to the call with the words. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says that the talbiyah during the pilgrimage has its origin in this response to the call of Sayyidina Ibrahim. Qutubah Majari. Further on, The verse describes the tradition which has been established for all times as a result of the proclamation of Sayyidina Ibrahim, namely Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 28, meaning that people will come to Baytullah from the four corners of the earth, some on foot and others on their mounts, which will become lean because of the long distances traversed by them. From that remote time until today, though thousands of years have elapsed, people come to Baytullah to perform pilgrimage, just as they did in the earliest times. All the prophets who came after Sayyidina Ibrahim and their followers strictly observed this tradition. During the long period of ignorance after Sayyidina Isa, the Arabs, even though they lapsed into the evils of idolatry, yet they continued to perform very faithfully all the rituals of the pilgrimage precisely as they had inherited them from the time of Sayyidina Ibrahim.
That they may witness benefits for themselves and mention the name of Allah on known days over what He has provided for them of sacrificial animals. So eat of them and feed the miserable and poor.
So that they witness benefits for them. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 28, means that the arduous journey undertaken by people to perform pilgrimage is to their own advantage. The use of the word benefits as a common noun without definite article points to the universal benefits that may be derived from the pilgrimage. Apart from the spiritual rewards, many material profits may also be obtained. It is indeed remarkable that people who sedulously save pennies over long years in order to be able to defray the high expenses involved in performing the Hajj have never become insolvent, whereas many people are known to have become bankrupt as a result of expenses incurred on marriages or on the construction of palatial houses. It is a common knowledge that no one has become a pauper because of spending on Hajj or Umrah. Rather, it has been noticed, according to some narrations, that Allah Ta'ala has bestowed such a blessing in this worship that many have gained materially after the ritual. As for the spiritual gains, they are many, one being related by Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, in a hadith in which the Holy Prophet said that anyone who performed Hajj in order to gain Allah's favor and avoided sins and obscene acts will return as immaculate and innocent as a newborn baby. Bukhari and Muslim Majari. In addition to the spiritual and material benefits to be obtained from Hajj mentioned above, there is yet another advantage which may be gained when performing it, which is mentioned in the following sentence, so that they may recite Allah's name in specified days over the provision He gave them from the cattle. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 28. Here it is important to bear in mind that the main object of sacrificing the animals on this occasion is not their meat, but the mention of Allah's name which is recited while the animal is being slaughtered, which is the essence of the worship. The fact that eating the meat of these animals has been made halal, lawful, for them is an additional reward from Allah. Specified days refer to the 10th, 11th, and 12th days of the month of Al-Hajj, when animals may be sacrificed. The words over the provision He gave them from the kettle, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 28, are of general application and include all kinds of sacrifices, whether they are obligatory or optional. So eat therefrom, although the word has been used in the imperative mood, it does not mean that eating the meat of these animals is obligatory. Rather, it has been used in the sense that it is permitted and lawful to eat this meat, as it is mentioned in verse, when you are out of Ihram, you may hunt. Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayah 2, for granting permission for hunting. Ruling. Especially during the period of Hajj, and generally at other times, two situations arise when animals must be sacrificed in Makkah. There is one kind of sacrifice which is obligatory, and performed to expiate a sin such as killing animals within the precincts of Haram. Books of jurisprudence describe in detail the kind of animals killed and the type of animals to be slaughtered to atone for each such animal killed unlawfully. Similarly, if a person commits an act which is forbidden, as long as he is in the state of Ihram, he too must slaughter an animal. Jurists call this kind of sacrifices a sacrifice to atone for a sin. Here also there are specific rules governing each situation. There are certain irregularities which must be expiated by slaughtering a camel or a cow, while in other cases the sacrifice of a goat or sheep is considered sufficient. There are a third kind of irregularities where slaughter of an animal is not necessary, and one can redeem his error by offering tzedakah. This is not the place to discuss these matters in great detail, but that the necessary information on this subject can be found in my booklet Ahkam al-Hajj. When an animal is slaughtered for expiating a sin or an irregular act, its meat can be eaten only by the poor and needy persons, and it is not permissible for the person making the slaughter or any rich person to eat this meat, and this view is held by all the jurists. As regards other sacrifices, whether obligatory or voluntary, the person offering the sacrifice his relatives and friends, even though they may be rich, can eat their meat, and the present verse refers to this kind of sacrifice. Here also it is recommended that 1/3 of the meat be distributed among the poor and needy. The second part of this verse, and feed the distressed, the poor. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 28, explains this point.
Then let them end their untidiness and fulfill their vows and perform dawaf around the ancient house.
Then they must remove their dirt. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 29. The word means dirt, which gathers on human body. While a person is in the state of ihram, he cannot shave, trim or pluck his hair, nor can he pare his nails, nor use perfume, and it is quite natural that dirt should collect under his hair and nails and on his body. This verse requires of the pilgrims that after they have performed the sacrifice, they should remove this dirt, meaning thereby that they should now remove the ihram and wear their normal clothes, shave their heads and pare their nails. This verse mentions sacrifice first and then refers to the removal of the dirt, which suggests that these two acts must be performed in that order. It is forbidden to shave one's head or pare nails before the obligatory sacrifice. Anyone who does so must slaughter an animal as dam to atone for his sin. Observance of the correct sequence in the performance of various acts related to Hajj. The observance of various functions of Hajj in the same order in which they are mentioned in the Quran and Hadith, and which have been codified by the jurists is, by consensus, a sunnah. However, opinions differ whether it is obligatory as well. Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, and Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, hold the view that the observance of the sequence is obligatory and any deviation from it must be atoned for by dam, while according to Imam Shafi, may Allah have mercy on him, it is only sunnah and a deviation from it reduces the reward to be gained by performing Hajj but does not make it obligatory to sacrifice an animal. There is also a ruling of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, he who alters the sequence of the rites during Hajj must slaughter an animal. Majari Tahawi has also reported this tradition through different versions. In addition, Sayyidina Ibn Jubair, may Allah be pleased with him, Katana, Nakai and Hassan al-Basri also support the view that any alteration in the sequence of the rites of Hajj makes the sacrifice of an animal obligatory. Fuller details on the subject are discussed in the Tafsir Majari. And fulfill their vows. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 29, is the plural of the word which means a vow. When a person commits himself verbally to do an act in order to win the goodwill of Allah Ta'ala, which is not otherwise obligatory on him, it becomes a vow matter, and its performance becomes obligatory for him by consensus of Ummah, provided that the act itself is not sinful or forbidden. If a person makes a vow to do something which is sinful, then he is not bound to fulfill the vow. Rather, it is impermissible to act upon it, but he must make atonement for the unfulfilled vow. According to Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, and other religious jurists, the vow must be of an act which is an act of a direct worship, ibadah maqsuda, in some manner. So if someone makes a nadr, vow, for voluntary prayers, fasting, sadaqah, sacrifice of animals, etc., all these vows must be fulfilled in all circumstances. The present verse emphasizes on this very issue. Ruling. It must be remembered that a resolve made in one's heart to do something does not become a nadr, vow, unless it is pronounced with the tongue. Tafsir Majari has elaborated the rules of nadr in great detail. A question and its answer. One may question the relevance of nadr in the context of Hajj. Obviously, the preceding sentences speak of the rules of Hajj, like sacrifice, removing ihram, etc. Similarly, the following sentence relates to the tawaf of ziyarah. Why the injunction to fulfill vows has been inserted between the rules of Hajj, while the rules governing vows have an independent status which are to be fulfilled at all times and at every place and not during Hajj only. A possible explanation for this is that when a person sets out with the intention of performing Hajj, his heart prompts him to do the maximum number of good deeds and to spend the maximum time in prayers, and so he makes many vows. Especially, it was a common practice to make vows for sacrificing additional animals during Hajj. According to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, the word nadr in this context means a vow to sacrifice an animal. One relevance of nadr, vow, appearing with the rites of pilgrimage, is that just as vow makes many things obligatory which are not so otherwise, it makes many things unlawful for him which are not originally forbidden. Similarly, the state of ihram during a pilgrimage makes certain things unlawful for him which are permitted at other times. Instances of these are wearing stitched clothes, use of perfume, shaving of hair, repairing nails. Therefore, Sayyidina Ikrimah, may Allah be pleased with him, has interpreted nadr in this verse to mean those acts and duties which have become obligatory during the course of Hajj, and they should make tawaf of the ancient house. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 29. Here the word tawaf refers to tawaf az-zira, which is performed on the 10th day of the month of Zil-Hajj after casting stones and making the sacrifice. It is the second obligatory ritual of Hajj, the first being Wuquf al-Arafat, which is performed earlier. After this tawaf, the state of ihram is fully terminated and all restrictions are removed. Ra'ul Ma'ani, the word lexically means liberated house. Baytullah is called because according to the Holy Prophet it has been liberated from the control and domination of the infidels and tyrants, and it will never again be ruled by them. Ra'ul Mani, it is evident by the episode of the people of Elephant who, with all their might, were frustrated in their attempt to establish their dominion over Makkah. The other meaning of the word is ancient, which is adopted in the translation of the text. Editor.
That has been commanded, and whoever honors the sacred ordinances of Allah, it is best for him in the sight of his Lord. And permitted to you are the grazing livestock, except what is recited to you. So avoid the uncleanliness of idols and avoid false statement.
Commentary. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 30 are the things sanctified by Allah Ta'ala, that is the religious laws. They are a source of welfare in this world and in the hereafter for those pious Muslims who seek to learn them and act upon them. And permitted to you are the cattle, except those mentioned to you through recitation of the verses. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 30. The word cattle includes camels, cows, goats, sheep, etc., which are made lawful at all times and even when one is in the state of ihram. Then the verse contains an exception in the words, except those mentioned to you. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 30. These are the animals which have been made unlawful in all circumstances, whether one is in the state of ihram or not. The detail of these animals is given in other verses, such as carrion, an animal which is beaten to death, or slaughtered without reciting the name of Allah, or in the name of someone other than Allah. So refrain from the filth of the idols. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 30. The word means filth or moral impurity, and is the plural of which means idol. Idols have been described as filth, because they fill a man's heart and soul with moral impurity. And refrain from a word of falsehood. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 30. The phrase means lies. Anything which is contrary to truth is a lie and false, whether it is corrupt beliefs and practices or whether it is false evidence. The Holy Prophet once said among the major sins are associating anyone with Allah, disobedience of one's parents, giving false evidence, and telling lies in general talk. He used the phrase word of falsehood repeatedly. Bukhari.
Inclining only to Allah, not associating anything with Him. And he who associates with Allah, it is as though he had fallen from the sky and was snatched by the birds, or the wind carried him down into a remote place.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 30, for the Tafsir.
That is so, and whoever honors the symbols of Allah, indeed, it is from the piety of hearts.
And if one observes the sanctity of the symbols of Allah, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 32, the word is the plural of which means a symbol, a distinctive sign, and refers to those things which are considered as the specific emblems of certain groups of people or certain faiths, or those special laws which are generally taken to be the identifying features of the Muslim. Most of the rules of Hajj fall in this category, and such things emanate from the piety of the heart. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 32. It means that respect for the symbols of Allah is an evidence of the piety of heart, which indicates that the symbols of Allah are respected by the one who has taqwa, fear of Allah, in his heart, and that taqwa is a quality which rests in one's heart. When the heart is equipped with this quality, it is reflected in all his actions.
For you, the animals marked for sacrifice are benefits for a specified term. Then their place of sacrifice is at the ancient house.
And for you there are benefits in them up to a specified time. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 33. It means that it is lawful for the Muslims to use the quadruped animals for their benefit, such as using their milk, riding them, or using them for transport of goods, unless the animals have been made hadi by reserving them for sacrifice to be offered within the precincts of haram. When a person takes along with him an animal for the specific purpose of sacrificing it within haram, the animal is described as hadi, and no benefit may be derived from it except in extreme emergency. A person leading the camel after it has been nominated as Hadi may lawfully ride it only if he is unable to walk and no other mount is available. Then their place of sacrifice is by the ancient house. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 33. Here includes the entire precincts of Haram, as was the case in the previous verse where the word Al-Masjid Al-Haram was used for the entire area of Haram, and Mahil, place, means the place of slaughtering the animals of Hadi. Thus the entire Haram is declared as the slaughtering place of the animals of Hadi. The meaning of the verse is that the Hadi, animals nominated for sacrifice during Hajj, may be slaughtered within, and not outside the area of Haram, which includes Mina and all other places of Makkah. Ma'ani.
And for all religion we have appointed a rite of sacrifice, that they may mention the name of Allah over what He has provided for them of sacrificial animals. For your God is one God, so to Him submit. And O Muhammad, give good tidings to the humble before their Lord.
Commentary. And for every ummah we prescribe the act of sacrifice. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 34. The words and mean several things in Arabic, such as sacrifice of animals, the rites of pilgrimage, and also worship of Allah Ta'ala. This word has been used in the Quran at several places and conveys one of the three meanings. In the present context, the word can carry all the three meanings. Mujahid and some other commentators think that here the word refers to the sacrifice of the animals, in which case the verse would mean that the obligation to offer sacrifice, which has been placed on this ummah, is nothing new, because all the other peoples were likewise bound to do so. On the other hand, according to Qatadat, the word means the rites of the pilgrimage, and thus the verse would mean that these rites which have been prescribed for the present ummah were made obligatory on the people of earlier ages also. Ibn Arafa has interpreted the word to mean worship of Allah, and so the meaning of the verse would be that the worship of Allah was made obligatory on all the peoples of bygone ages, and though there were differences in the forms of worship, yet in essence it remained unchanged. And give good news to those who turn to Him in humbleness. The word means a depressed tract of land and means a person who deems himself humble and lowly. According to Amr bin Oz, are those people who do not wrong others, and if somebody wrongs them, they do not seek revenge. Sufyan has observed that they are the people who are contented with Allah's will and remain agreeable in all circumstances, comfort or trouble, in poverty or affluence.
Who, when Allah is mentioned, their hearts are fearful, and to the patient over what has afflicted them, and the establishers of prayer, and those who spend from what we have provided them.
Whose hearts are filled with awe. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 35. The word means a feeling of awe inspired by something majestic and sublime. These words describe the state of pious people who are overwhelmed by deep awe whenever the name of Allah is mentioned in their presence.
And the camels and cattle we have appointed for you as among the symbols of Allah, for you therein is good. So mention the name of Allah upon them when lined up for sacrifice, and when they are lifeless on their sides, then eat from them and feed the needy and the beggar. Thus have we subjected them to you, that you may be grateful.
And the big animals of sacrifice like camels are made by us among the symbols of Allah. For you, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 36. It has been explained earlier that symbols mean those special forms of rites and worship, which are the symbols of Islam. Sacrifice of animals is one of them, which must be observed with due importance. So recite the name of Allah over them as they are lined up for sacrifice. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 36. The word, translated above as lined up, is used for which means standing in a row. According to Sayyid ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, the verse means that the camel, which is to be slaughtered, should stand on 3 legs, and one foreleg should be bent and tied up. This is a better way of slaughtering a camel, and is according to Sunnah. Other animals should be slaughtered in lying position, which is also Sunnah. Then once their flanks fall down, here the word is used for the meaning of which means when the animal falls and dies. The one who is content and the one who wishes to receive. In an earlier verse, people who have a right on the meat of sacrificed animals have been described by the words which mean destitute and without means. These 2 words have been clarified further by the words and. The word applies to a needy person who does not solicit and is content with what people offer him voluntarily, while as a person who goes to a place where he expects to receive something, whether he solicits verbally or not. Majari.
Their meat will not reach Allah, nor will their blood, but what reaches Him is piety from you. Thus have we subjected them to you, that you may glorify Allah for that to which He has guided you, and give good tidings to the doers of good.
The real object is not the specific rites of pilgrimage, but true devotion to Allah and submission to His will, which are inherent in those rites. It is neither their flesh nor their blood that reaches Allah. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 37. It means that the sacrifice of animals is a very high form of worship, but their meat and blood do not reach Allah Ta'ala, nor are these two things the real object of sacrifice. Its real aim is to recite the name of Allah and to comply with His commands with true devotion. This rule applies to all forms of worship. For instance, the object of prayers is not just the movement of limbs, or the object of fasting is not merely a denial of food and drink. The real purpose of these rites of worship is to obey the commands of Allah Ta'ala with all sincerity. Devoid of sincerity, these rites of worship are like a body without soul. Nevertheless, these forms of worship are also very important because Allah Ta'ala has prescribed these forms for different types of worship. Allah knows best.
Indeed, Allah defends those who have believed. Indeed, Allah does not like everyone treacherous and ungrateful.
Commentary. The previous verses contain an account of how the infidels of Makkah prevented the Holy Prophet and his companions from entering the Haram and the Holy Mosque to perform Umrah when, having put on ihram, they had reached as far as Hudaybiyah, a place not far from Makkah. In this verse, Allah Ta'ala consoled the Muslims with the promise that He would deprive the infidels of their power to harm them anymore. This incident took place in the year 6A. And thereafter the power and the morale of the infidels suffered continuous decline until in the year AA. The Muslims conquered Makkah. The following verses describe this event in detail.
Permission to fight has been given to those who are being fought because they were wronged, and indeed Allah is competent to give them victory.
Commentary. First command to fight the infidels. The infidels of Mecca intensified their aggression against the Muslims, and everyday people arrived in Medina bearing marks of ill treatment which they had suffered at the hands of unbelievers. In the days before Hira, the number of the faithful had increased considerably, and they sought permission to defend themselves against the oppression to which they were being constantly subjected. But the Holy Prophet advised them patience, because he had not received Allah's permission so far to resist the infidels with force of arms. This situation persisted for about 10 years. By at last, things became so bad that the Holy Prophet was left with no choice but to leave Makkah. As he started on his journey accompanied by Sayyidina Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, "They have expelled their Prophet, and the time has come when they will perish." When he arrived at Medina, this verse was revealed which permitted the Muslims to take up arms against the infidels. By Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, Ibn Hibban, Hakim and others have reported on the authority of Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that this is the first verse which permitted the Muslims to offer armed resistance to the infidels, whereas in more than 70 earlier verses armed resistance was forbidden.
They are those who have been evicted from their homes without right, only because they say, "Our Lord is Allah." And were it not that Allah checks the people, some by means of others, there would have been demolished monasteries, churches, synagogues and mosques in which the name of Allah is much mentioned. And Allah will surely support those who support Him. Indeed, Allah is powerful and exalted in might.
The philosophy behind jihad and war against the infidels. And had Allah not repelled some people by means of some others? Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 40. Had Allah not repelled some people by means of some others, the monasteries, the churches, the synagogues, and the mosques where the name of Allah is recited abundantly would have been demolished. The command to take up arms against the unbelievers is nothing new, because the earlier prophets and their followers had received similar orders from Allah Ta'ala, and the philosophy behind this command was that without armed resistance no religion would have felt safe, and their places of worship would have been destroyed by the infidels. There have been many religions which were founded on the worship of one God and built up by means of wahi, divine revelations. In course of time their basics were changed, and so many alterations were introduced in them that they turned into unbelief and polytheism. But before these things happened, they were true religions, and it was the duty of their followers to respect and defend their places of worship. This verse refers to such places of worship only and does not include the sacred places of those religions which were not founded on prophethood and revelation, such as the fire-worshipping Magyans or the idol-worshipping Hindus, because they were at no time considered places deserving of respect. In this verse is the plural of which means a monastery, which is a place of worship meant for Christian monks and hermits, is the plural of which means a Christian church, and is the plural of which means a Jewish synagogue, and of course is the place of worship of the Muslims. The meaning of this verse is that if at different times the believers had not been permitted to fight the infidels, no true religion would have felt secure, and at different times during the periods of Sayyidina Musa, Sayyidina Isa, and the Holy Prophet, the places of worship of their respective religions would have been destroyed. Qutubai.
And they are those who, if we give them authority in the land, establish prayer and give zakah and enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. And to Allah belongs the outcome of all matters.
Quranic prophecy about the rightly guided caliphs and its fulfillment. Those who, when we give them power in the land, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 41. In this verse the word "those" refers to those people who have been mentioned in the preceding verse. Those are the ones who were expelled from their homes without any just reason. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 40. Referring to such people, the verse says that if they are placed in authority in this world, they will use it to promote good deeds, will set up prayers, pay the obligatory charity, enjoin people to do good and abstain from evil deeds. It has already been mentioned that these verses were revealed soon after Hira, at a time when the Muslims did not exercise dominion anywhere on earth, which means that Allah Ta'ala had already made it known that when, at a future date, they would come to power and establish their government, they would serve the faith in the manner described in this verse. Say, Ibn Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, said, referring to this verse, that this verse praises those people before they actually perform the praiseworthy deeds. In due course, Allah Ta'ala's prophecy was fulfilled in that the four rightly guided caliphs and the muhajirin, emigrants from Mecca, were indeed those whom the Quran described by the words, those who were expelled. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 40. And when they established their government and held sway over vast territories, they used their power and authority in setting up prayers, strengthening the system of zakah, enjoining good and forbidding evil deeds. Many scholars are of the view that this verse is a clear evidence of the fact that accession to power of the four caliphs is a direct fulfillment of Allah's prophecy, and the system of caliphate which was set up by them was in accordance with His will. Ra'ul Ma'ani, having discussed the factual aspect of the circumstances leading up to the revelation of this verse, it must, at the same time, be emphasized that where the Quran uses general words and phrases, their purpose is not restricted to a particular situation, but is universally applicable to all similar situations. Following this reasoning, Dahak says that this verse contains an injunction for all those whom Allah Ta'ala grants power and authority to do all those things which the four caliphs did when they controlled the rule. Qutubai.
And if they deny you, O Muhammad, so before them did the people of Noah and Ad and Thamud deny their prophets.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 41 for the Tafsir.
And the people of Abraham and the people of Lot.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 41 for the Tafsir.
And the inhabitants of Madian. And Moses was denied, so I prolonged enjoyment for the disbelievers. Then I seized them, and how terrible was my reproach.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 41 for the Tafsir.
And how many a city did we destroy while it was committing wrong, so it is now fallen into ruin, and how many an abandoned well, and how many a lofty palace.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 41 for the Tafsir.
So have they not traveled through the earth, and have hearts by which to reason, and ears by which to hear? For indeed, it is not eyes that are blinded, but blinded are the hearts which are within the breasts.
Commentary. Travels undertaken to acquire insight into things and to learn lessons from the past is one of the religious objectives. Have they not, then, traveled on earth so that they should have hearts? Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 46. This verse encourages travel, provided the person traveling keeps his eyes wide open and imbibes in his mind the lessons of history. The phrase, so that they should have hearts, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 46, suggests that a person can gain wisdom and intelligence by a careful study of the history of bygone times and an account of people who inhabited this world in different ages. Every event of history holds a lesson for a person who has insight and who does not regard history as a mere record of episodes and occurrences. Ibn Abi Haytham has written in his book, quoting Malik ibn Dinar, may Allah have mercy on him, that Allah Ta'ala commanded Sayyidina Musa to wear shoes made of iron and to hold in his hand a staff made of iron and travel around the earth until his shoes would be worn out and his staff broken down. Ramayani, if this narration is true, then naturally it means to acquire knowledge and lessons from the past.
And they urge you to hasten the punishment, but Allah will never fail in His promise. And indeed, a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count.
How the day of resurrection will be equal to 1,000 years by our reckoning. In this verse, Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 47 means that one day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of what you count. This verse can be interpreted in two ways. The first meaning is that the verse refers to the day of resurrection, and the events which will take place on that day will be so horrifying and of such extreme severity that the day will appear never to end, as if it was equal to 1,000 years according to our reckoning. Many commentators have interpreted this verse accordingly. The other meaning of the verse is that the day of resurrection will in actual fact be so long that it will stretch up to 1,000 years of this world. This view is supported by a saying of the Holy Prophet as reported in Musnad al-Ahmad and Tirmidhi on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet once addressed the poor people of the Muhajirin, i.e. those who migrated from Mecca, and said, I give you good news about the full refulgence on the day of resurrection, and that you will be admitted to heaven half a day before the rich and the wealthy, and the day in the hereafter will be of 1,000 years. Hence the poor will enter the heaven 500 years before the wealthy. Tirmidhi, he has classified this hadith as Hasan. Maidari, a doubt in its explanation. There is a verse in Surah Al-Ma'arij which says that the day with your Lord will be equal to 50,000 years, whereof the measure is 50,000 years. Surah Al-Ma'arij, ayah 4. This can also be explained by applying either of the two explanations of the present verse. And in the first case, since every person will suffer different levels of severity, to some it will appear as if he has suffered pain for 1,000 years, while to others the period will appear equal to 50,000 years. If, however, the second explanation is applied to this verse, then there would appear to be a contradiction between the verses, where one verse equates the day of resurrection to 1,000 years and the other to 50,000 years. But this so-called contradiction has been reconciled by Sayyidina Ashraf Ali Thanvi, may Allah have mercy on him, in his commentary Al-Qur'an, by saying that this difference may be due to different horizons. Just as we see in our world that the length of day and night is different on different horizons. On 0 latitude it is of 24 hours, while at the latitude of 900 it is 1 year. Likewise, it is possible that the length of the day of resurrection would be different on different horizons, and if its length right below the day line is 1,000 years, because of miraculously slow rotation of sun or earth, the areas falling 50 times far from it may have a day 50 times more in length. And Allah knows best.
And for how many a city did I prolong enjoyment while it was committing wrong? Then I seized it, and to me is the final destination.
See Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
Say, O people, I am only to you a clear warner.
See Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And those who have believed and done righteous deeds, for them is forgiveness and noble provision.
See Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
But the ones who strove against our verses, seeking to cause failure, those are the companions of hellfire.
See Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And we did not send before you any messenger or prophet except that when he spoke or recited, Satan threw into it some misunderstanding. But Allah abolishes that which Satan throws in. Then Allah makes precise His verses, and Allah is knowing and wise.
Commentary. Any messenger and any prophet. Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 52. This shows that the words Rasul and Nabi carry different meanings, though there is no consensus as to the precise nature of the difference. For our purpose, it is enough to understand that Nabite is a person whom Allah Ta'ala designates with a mission to reform His people and who receives revelations from Him. He may receive a scripture and a code of laws, where he may be commanded to convey the message of an earlier book and code of laws. Sayyidina Musa and Isa belong to the first category, whereas Sayyidina Harun, who was directed to propagate the teachings of Torah and the Mosaic laws, falls in the second category. On the other hand, a Rasul is a person who receives from Allah Ta'ala scripture and a code of laws. Thus every Rasul is necessarily a Nabi also, but every Nabi is not a Rasul. These distinctions are applicable to human beings only. That an angel who carries wahi from Allah Ta'ala is also named as Rasul does not contradict this position. This subject has already been discussed in detail in Surah Maryam, in the beginning of this volume. The Shaitan cast doubts about what he recited. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52. In this verse the word has been used as a synonym for thus would mean recitation. This verse explains that the disputes raised by the disbelievers in regard to Allah's message is not something new, as similar doubts were raised by earlier people as well when their prophets presented to them the message of truth, and the Shaitan cast doubts about it in the hearts of disbelievers. This explanation of the verse is quite clear and straightforward, and has been adopted by many commentators including Abu Hayyan and his Bahr-ul Mu'it. However, some books of traditions have reported here an incident which is not proved by authentic sources. The incident is known as Hadith al-Quranic. Some scholars have held that it is invented by some heretics and enemies of Islam, but even those who believe this tradition to be worthwhile have taken pains to remove the doubts which the words raise about the categorical and undisputed laws of Quran and Sunnah. The plain and simple meaning of the verse has been explained above, and the alleged incident in no way affects this meaning. Making this incident as a part and parcel of the commentary on this verse, thereby creating unnecessary doubts, and then attempting to answer those doubts is an exercise in futility and absolutely undesirable.
That is so he may make what Satan throws in a trial for those within whose hearts is disease and those hard of heart. And indeed, the wrongdoers are in extreme dissension.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52 for the Tafsir.
And so those who were given knowledge may know that it is the truth from your Lord, and therefore believe in it, and their hearts humbly submit to it. And indeed is Allah the guide of those who have believed to a straight path.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52 for the Tafsir.
But those who disbelieve will not cease to be in doubt of it until the hour comes upon them unexpectedly, or there comes to them the punishment of a barren day.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52 for the Tafsir.
All sovereignty that day is for Allah. He will judge between them. So they who believed and did righteous deeds will be in gardens of pleasure.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52 for the Tafsir.
And they who disbelieved and denied our signs, for those there will be a humiliating punishment.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52 for the Tafsir.
And those who emigrated for the cause of Allah and then were killed or died, Allah will surely provide for them a good provision. And indeed, it is Allah who is the best of providers.
Commentary. Those people who had left their hearth and homes in the cause of Allah and were killed or died of natural death, they would definitely be rewarded. If they have not benefited in this world, their reward will be there in the hereafter.
He will surely cause them to enter an entrance with which they will be pleased, and indeed, Allah is knowing and forbearing.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 58 for the Tafsir.
That is so, and whoever responds to injustice with the equivalent of that with which he was harmed and then is tyrannized, Allah will surely aid him. Indeed, Allah is pardoning and forgiving.
Commentary. In an earlier verse it has been mentioned that Allah Ta'ala helps those who are wronged unjustly. Allah is powerful to give them victory. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 39. Some people bear their sufferings patiently and do not seek vengeance from their oppressors, but there are others who retaliate and serve a full measure of retribution on their oppressors, which should, therefore, place them both on even terms as being quits. But if the oppressor, incensed at the retaliation, attacks him again, then this person once again becomes the victim of oppression. This verse promises Allah's help for such a person also. On the other hand, there are several verses which promise Allah's goodwill to those Muslims who bear their sufferings with patience and equanimity and do not seek vengeance from their oppressors. Some of these verses are, "But whoso pardons and puts things right, his wage falls upon Allah." Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 40. And that you forgive is closer to Taqwa. Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 237. But surely he who bears patiently and forgives, surely that is true constancy. Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 43. In all these verses it is encouraged not to retaliate for revenge and rather forgive and forget, which is a magnanimous way of dealing with fellow human beings. This is the way Quranic teachings stand and call it a supreme and superior trait. Thus it may perhaps be argued that the person who retaliates against the wrongs done to him and conducts himself contrary to the course of action preferred by Allah Ta'ala will be deprived of his support and help. But this doubt has been allayed in the final part of this verse, Surah Al-Hajj ayah 60, that is, Allah will not punish him for this lapse and will help him if he is subjected to injustice by his oppressors ever again. Roll Ma'ani.
That is because Allah causes the night to enter the day and causes the day to enter the night, and because Allah is hearing and seeing.
See Surah Al-Hajj ayah 60 for the Tafsir.
That is because Allah is the truth, and that which they call upon other than Him is falsehood, and because Allah is the Most High, the Grand.
See Surah Al-Hajj ayah 60 for the Tafsir.
Do you not see that Allah has sent down rain from the sky, and the earth becomes green? Indeed, Allah is subtle and acquainted.
See Surah Al-Hajj ayah 60 for the Tafsir.
To Him belongs what is in the heavens and what is on the earth, and indeed, Allah is the free of need, the praiseworthy.
See Surah Al-Hajj ayah 60 for the Tafsir.
Do you not see that Allah has subjected to you whatever is on the earth and the ships which run through the sea by His command? And He restrains the sky from falling upon the earth unless by His permission. Indeed, Allah to the people is kind and merciful.
Commentary. Allah has subjugated to you whatever there is on the earth, Surah Al-Hajj ayah 65. It means that everything on this earth has been placed under the control of man. This raises the question that the mountains, rivers, beasts and birds and thousands of similar objects do not follow the commands of man. But placing something in the service of someone is also like putting it under his control, and in this verse the word task here, subjugation, has been used to mean to serve. The verse therefore means that all the things mentioned above are all the time working in the service of man by the command of Allah. It was quite within the power of Allah Ta'ala to have placed all these things under the control of man, but in such a situation man himself would have been the loser, because human natures, desires and needs differ. If a person ordered the river to divert towards a particular direction, and some other person ordered to the contrary, the result would have been utter chaos and confusion. Therefore Allah Ta'ala has retained with Him alone the command of these things, but the benefits to be derived from them accrue to human beings.
And He is the one who gave you life. Then He causes you to die, and then will again give you life. Indeed, mankind is ungrateful.
See Surah Al-Hajj ayah 65 for the Tafsir.
For every religion we have appointed rites which they perform. So, O Muhammad, let the disbelievers not contend with you over the matter, but invite them to your Lord. Indeed, you are upon straight guidance.
Commentary. For every Ummah religious community, we have appointed a way of worship, Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 67. This sentence has come earlier in almost identical words in verse Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 34 of the surah, but the word mansak conveys a different meaning in each verse. In the earlier verse, the words "and" have been used in the context of the rites of Hajj and mean sacrifice of animals, while in the present verse the word has been used in the sense of the rules of slaughter or general rules of worship. That is why, unlike the verse Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 34, the present verse does not have the conjunctive letter i.e. and in the beginning. One interpretation of this verse is that the infidels used to engage the Muslims in futile arguments regarding the slaughter of animals. They thought it odd that Islam permitted its followers to eat the meat of those animals which they slaughtered with their own hands, but forbade eating the meat of those animals whom Allah Ta'ala killed, that is the carrion. The present verse was revealed to answer these objections of the infidels. Ra'ul Ma'ani, thus the meaning of the word here would refer to the method of slaughter, and the sum and substance of the verse is that Allah Ta'ala gave each nation a code of laws, and the rules governing the slaughter of animals are different in each code. The rules of slaughter given to the Holy Prophet are independent and self-sufficient, and it is not permissible to compare them with those of an earlier Sharia, let alone comparing them with someone's own whims and conjectures. As regards the meat of dead animals, it is well known that its oral use was forbidden in all earlier codes. Ra'ul Ma'ani. Therefore, it is sheer ignorance to argue with the Holy Prophet on that basis. However, majority of commentators has interpreted this verse in another way. They say that the word here means the general rules of Sharia. Lexically, the word means a place which is fixed for a specific purpose, whether the purpose is good or bad, and for this reason the rites of pilgrimage are known as, because different rites connected with the pilgrimage have to be performed at places fixed for each rite. Ibn Kathir, the dictionary meaning of this piety and worship of Allah Ta'ala, and the words, and show us our ways of worship, Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 128, occurring in the Quran have been used in this sense. Manasik means rules governing worship. Sayyid ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has adopted this second interpretation also. Ibn Jarir, Ibn Kathir, Qutubai, Ra'ul Ma'ani, etc. have adopted this meaning of the word, and the context of the verse also lends support to this interpretation. Having said all this, it is evident that the meaning of this verse would be that the infidels and the polytheists who dispute the Islamic code of laws on the ground that their own ancestral religion did not include those laws must understand very clearly that any comparison between the old book or Sharia and the new book or Sharia is totally misplaced and irrelevant, because Allah Ta'ala granted to each nation in its own time a special Sharia and a book which was binding upon it until another book or Sharia arrived on the scene, after which it becomes the duty of all people to follow the new Sharia, and if any of its laws are in conflict with the laws of the old Sharia, then the new rules shall prevail and the old laws will stand invalidated, and nobody has the right to raise a dispute on this matter with the Prophet, who is the recipient of the latest book and Sharia. This is the meaning of the following words of this verse. They should never quarrel with you in the matter. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67. That is, now that the Holy Prophet has brought a new book and new code of laws, no one has the right to dispute them and create any confusion about them. This also shows that there is in fact no inconsistency between the two interpretations of this verse. It is quite possible that this verse was revealed with reference to some specific dispute about the slaughter of animals, but since, as a general rule, the words must be interpreted in the sense they are understood by the common people, and not in reference to a particular event, the words of this verse can be so construed as to apply to all the laws of Sharia. The essence of both the interpretations, therefore, it is that since Allah Ta'ala has given each nation its own particular set of rules where differences as to details do exist, the latest set of rules becomes binding on all peoples, and issues relating to these differences cannot be raised. This is the reason why it has been stated at the end of this verse, and do call them to your Lord. Surely you are on straight guidance, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67, in which the Holy Prophet has been advised not to take any notice of the machinations and disputes raised by the infidels, but to continue with his mission, because he was following the path of righteousness, whereas his opponents were steeped in error. A doubt in its answer. In verse Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67, it has been averred that Allah Ta'ala granted to the earlier nations their own Sharia or set of rules, and the Mosaic code and the Christian code are instances in point. The Jews and the Christians may therefore are that their codes, also being divine, should be allowed to exist alongside of the Islamic code. But this is a fallacious argument, because it is a well-established fact that an earlier Sharia is cancelled by a subsequent Sharia. And this view is reinforced by the following verses, in which the infidels who challenge the Islamic Sharia have been warned of severe chastisement. And if they dispute with you, then say, Allah knows best what you do. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 68.
And if they dispute with you, then say, Allah is most knowing of what you do.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67 for the Tafsir.
Allah will judge between you on the day of resurrection concerning that over which you used to differ.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67 for the Tafsir.
Do you not know that Allah knows what is in the heaven and earth? Indeed, that is in a record. Indeed, that for Allah is easy.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67 for the Tafsir.
And they worship besides Allah that for which He has not sent down authority, and that of which they have no knowledge, and there will not be for the wrongdoers any helper.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67 for the Tafsir.
And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidences, you recognize in the faces of those who disbelieve disapproval. They are almost on the verge of assaulting those who recite to them our verses. Say, Then shall I inform you of what is worse than that? It is the fire which Allah has promised those who disbelieve, and wretched is the destination.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 67, for the Tafsir.
O people, an example is presented, so listen to it. Indeed, those you invoke besides Allah will never create as much as a fly, even if they gathered together for that purpose. And if the fly should steal from them a tiny thing, they could not recover it from him. Weak are the pursuer and pursued.
Commentary. Illustrating the futility of polytheism and idol worship by citing a parable. Generally, the words are used for quoting an incident as an example. However, it is not used here in that sense, but the foolishness of idol worship has been illustrated by citing a parable. The infidels are told that the idols from which they seek the gratification of their desires are so utterly helpless that all of them together cannot create a humble thing like a fly. Indeed, they cannot even protect the offerings of eatables, which their worshippers bring them daily, against the inroads of flies. Then how can they protect you from any calamity? The stupidity and foolishness of the idol worshippers has been described at the end of the verse by the words, "Feeble are the invoker," and the invoked Surah Al-Hajj Ayah 73, meaning thereby that if the object of worship is so utterly weak and powerless, those worshipping it must be more so.
They have not appraised Allah with true appraisal. Indeed, Allah is powerful and exalted in might.
They did not recognize Allah in His true esteem. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 74. It means that these people are so foolish and ungrateful that they did not recognize the power of Allah Ta'ala and place their helpless idols at the same level with Him.
Allah chooses from the angels messengers and from the people. Indeed, Allah is hearing and seeing.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 74, for the Tafsir.
He knows what is presently before them and what will be after them, and to Allah will be returned all matters.
See Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 74, for the Tafsir.
O you who have believed, bow and prostrate and worship your Lord, and do good, that you may succeed.
Commentary. O those who believe, bow down in ruku, and bow down in sajda, and worship your Lord. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 77, verse Surah Al-Hajj. Ayah 18 of the surah is a verse of sajda by consensus of the jurists, which means that whoever recites verse Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 18, or listens to someone reciting it must offer a sajda. However, there is a difference of opinion about the present verse. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and Sufyan Thawri are among those who think that the present verse is not a verse of sajda in the sense that reciting this verse or listening to it does not entail the obligation to offer a sajda, because the command to bow down in sajda in the present verse is combined with bowing down in ruku, and this circumstance is a clear indication that in the present context sajda means the normal sajda, which is performed during the course of prayers. For example, all the scholars are unanimously of the opinion that in the verse, and prostrate and bow down in ruku, with those who bow. Surah Al-Imran, Ayah 43, the sajda is the normal sajda of the prayers. However, in the context of the present verse, Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad hold contrary views and quote a hadith according to which Surah Hajj enjoys a position of greater merit as compared to other surahs because of two verses of sajda occurring in it. Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, questions the authenticity of this hadith.
And strive for Allah with the striving due to Him. He has chosen you and has not placed upon you in the religion any difficulty. It is the religion of your father, Abraham. Allah named you Muslims before in former scriptures, and in this revelation that the messenger may be a witness over you, and you may be witnesses over the people. So establish prayer and give zakah and hold fast to Allah. He is your protector, and excellent is the protector, and excellent is the helper.
And struggle for seeking the pleasure of Allah, a struggle that is due to Him. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 78. The words jihad and mujahada mean to exert one's utmost effort to achieve an objective and to take pains for it. That is why the word is translated above as struggle. While waging war against the infidels, the Muslims make supreme efforts, and for this reason, It is called jihad, and struggle that is due to him means that all these efforts and sacrifices should aim solely at winning the favors and goodwill of Allah Ta'ala, and be free from all considerations of worldly reward, such as fame or spoils of war. Sayyid Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has explained the phrase that is due to him by saying that it is to strive to the utmost, if one's capacity in the course of jihad, unmindful of all criticism. Some other commentators have explained the word jihad in this verse to mean that one exerts his utmost effort in carrying out the acts of worship and full obedience to rules of Sharia in all sincerity. Bahak and Muqatil have said that a struggle that is due to him means to act in Allah's obedience and his worship as due to him. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mubarak, may Allah be pleased with him, thinks that jihad means to strive against the temptations, nafs, and its baser desires. Imam Madhawi supports this view on the basis of a hadith which he has from Jabir ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, to the effect that when a group of companions returned from jihad, the Holy Prophet said, "You have returned from a smaller jihad to a greater jihad," meaning thereby that the fight against the temptations of self and baser desires never ceases. Bayhaqi has also related this hadith, but he is of the opinion that it has some weak narrators. Tafsir Majari has adopted this latter interpretation and proceeded to say that the Muslims were in fact fighting against the coarse desires of self even when they were engaged in jihad against the infidels, but the hadith places it after their return from the jihad. The suggestion here is that though the fight against temptations continued even on the battlefield, it could by tradition and usage be brought to fruition only under the watchful eye of a perfect spiritual guide, that is, the Holy Prophet. The Ummah of Prophet Muhammad is the chosen Ummah of Allah Ta'ala. He has chosen you. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayat 78. Sayyidina Watila ibn Askam, may Allah be pleased with him, has reported that the Holy Prophet once said, Allah chose the Kinana from the children of Sayyidina Ismail, then he chose the Quraysh from the Kinana, then the Bani Hashim from the Quraysh, and from amongst the Bani Hashim he chose me. Muslim Majari, and did not impose any hardship on you in the religion. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayat 78. It means that Allah Ta'ala has not imposed any hardship upon you in matters of religion. From this some scholars have concluded that in Islam there is no sin which cannot be forgiven and save a person from the punishment of the day of resurrection if he repents for it truly. On the other hand, among the earlier nations there were certain sins which could not be forgiven even by offering repentance. According to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, hardship refers to those rigid and harsh laws which apply to the Bani Israel and for which the Quran uses the words burden and shackles. Others have interpreted the word haraj, hardship, to mean a hardship which is beyond human endurance. In Islam there are no such laws and rules which are unbearable in themselves, though there are some rules which entail strenuous effort, but such efforts have always been regarded as prerequisites to success in all human activities. Education, commerce, industry, etc. are fields where success depends on unremitting labor, but that would not make these tasks impossible to achieve. Sometimes difficulties are experienced due to unfavorable environments or lack of familiarity with the task in hand, but these too cannot be described as hardships and can be overcome by sustained hard work. Another interpretation given by Kadifan Allah in Tafsir Majari is that Allah Ta'ala, having chosen the Muslims for his favors from amongst all other nations, they too willingly opt for the severest hardship in the service of Allah and his religion. In such a situation, even hardships and difficulties do not deter their resilience, and they endure them willingly and happily. There is a hadith related by Sayyidina Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, in which the Holy Prophet said, "The coolness of my eyes lies in prayers Ahmad and Nasi, the faith of your father Ibrahim." Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 78. It means that this is the nation of your father Ibrahim. These words are addressed to the Quraysh, who are descended from Sayyidina Ibrahim, and all other people following them become entitled to the favors which Allah Ta'ala has granted to the Quraysh. There is a hadith which says, all people follow Quraysh in this faith. The believers follow the believers among the Quraysh, and the infidels follow the infidels among them. Majari, others say that the words, your father Ibrahim, are addressed to all Muslims in the sense that the Holy Prophet was the spiritual father of all Muslims and had himself descended from Sayyidina Ibrahim. He, Allah, named you as Muslims both before and in this Quran. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 78. Sayyidina Ibrahim had named the followers of the Holy Prophet and all other believers as Muslims even before the Quran and later in the Quran itself, as is evident from his prayer which is recorded in the Quran, O our Lord, make us both submissive to you, and of our progeny a people submissive to you. Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 1, 128, and the name Muslim given by the Quran to the believers was though not given directly by Sayyidina Ibrahim, yet since he had suggested this name even before the revelation of the Quran, the Holy Quran has adopted this name. That is why it is attributed to Sayyidina Ibrahim, so that the messenger becomes a witness to you and you become witnesses to other people. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 78. On the day of resurrection, the Holy Prophet will depose that he had conveyed the commands of Allah Ta'ala to his Ummah, and the Ummah will acknowledge this fact. But when other prophets will make similar depositions, their Ummahs will deny their claims, and at that time the Ummah of the Holy Prophet will come forward and bear witness to the fact that all the prophets had indeed conveyed the commands of Allah Ta'ala to their respective Ummahs. This evidence will be challenged on the ground that since the Muslim Ummah did not even exist in those earlier times, it carried no weight, to which the Muslims will reply that they learned about these matters from their own Prophet, whose truthfulness and integrity was admitted by all. This is the gist of a hadith which Bukhari and others have related on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him. So establish Salah and pay Zakah. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 78. It means that since Allah Ta'ala has showered on you unlimited benefits, it is your duty also to show your gratitude to Him by striving hard to obey His commands. The two commands relating to prayers and Zakah have been specifically mentioned because prayer is the most important among the obligations performed by human body, while Zakah is the most important among the commands about wealth. Otherwise, the idea is that all commands enjoined by Allah Ta'ala be obeyed and followed. And hold fast to Allah. Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 78. It means that pious Muslims should place their trust in Allah alone in all their affairs and seek help from none but Him. According to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, the sense of these words is that pious Muslims should seek Allah's protection from all things which are loathsome in this world and in the hereafter. Others have interpreted these words to mean that good Muslims should hold fast to the Quran and Sunnah, and have quoted the following hadith: I have left behind two things with you, and if you hold fast to them you will never go astray. One is the Book of Allah, and the second is the Sunnah of His Rasul. Mashari.